Good morning, folks. Let's have a little coffee together. Good morning. NASA. Oh my God. NASA released a video where they absolutely positively proved that they are either covering up what's going on with UFO UAPs or they are absolutely completely incompetent. Okay? And YouTube has given me some wonderful things. YouTube has enabled me to be something I always wanted to be, which is an investigative journalist. But you don't often get a scoop. You don't often get something absolutely conclusive. You don't often get what evidence so powerful that I could submit it as proof of something. All right, but I got it this morning. I downloaded a video yesterday about the NASA hearing on UAPs, and there was, of course, it's like a 4-hour video, so I didn't watch the whole video. What I did was I looked for snippets. And there was one snippet. It said, NASA reveals UFO over Middle East, never before released. And I'm looking at it, and the presenter who's talking about it, folks, how do you not, how are you this unself-aware of what you're saying? He gave up the beans. He said, here's a UAP. It's a very typical UAP, and it is over Middle East, and I presume we're over a military site, because that's what it looked like. It didn't look like a city. It didn't look like a Bedouin tent out in the middle of the desert. It looked like a small cluster of, buildings, square buildings, that were in a relatively arid, isolated area away from a major population center, away from an industrial center. That looks like a military site to me. Okay, that's a reasonable conclusion. But otherwise, it was some type of special purpose site. And he said, we have this orb-like object. And it's metallic. It's about one. He said he showed a chart where maybe a quarter of all UAPs cited by NASA, of the information collected by NASA, are metallic orbs, 1 to 4 meters in diameter, silvery. Doesn't talk about markings, and typically flying 30 to 40 meters in the air, and he doesn't cite typical speeds. And then he says, but as you can see, it is not exhibiting any anomalous characteristics. I'm going to say this again. He showed an orb flying above a military position or some type of special civilian maybe research position in the Middle East, and it was filmed from above by an aircraft. So an aircraft was tailing this, filming it. It was an orb, 1 to 4 meters in diameter, flying an orb, and he said it has no anomalous characteristics and poses no threat to aviation. I left that part out. Let me say it again. An orb, 1 to 4 meters in diameter, 30 to 40 feet above an installation, did not show anomalous characteristics or a threat to aviation. Folks, what is normal about a metallic sphere, 1 to 4 meters in diameter, flying? What is normal about that? It had no propulsion system. It had no jets. It had no wings. It had nothing with which to maneuver with. It had no fins, ailerons, tails, none of that. It was a metallic sphere. How was it navigating? It had no exhaust. A NASA official stood in front of a panel, and I presume there was an audience of people that allegedly have experience in aeronautics, and said that flying metallic spheres are normal. Notice, if you look at the video, it was not floating. It is not a balloon. It does not have jets. It does not have rockets. It does not have propellers. He stood in front of a crowd and said, a 1 to 4 meter metallic object flying around, not giving off radar, not giving off radio signals, not announcing its position, is not a threat to aviation. I'm going to pull out, I have a little flip phone here, and the flip phone has a little converter, okay? I'm going to do some math here. I have a little converter that I can convert meters to feet and so on and so forth. Let's go to our little converter and let's choose length. Let's choose feet and meters. All right, and let's go to 3. That is 9.84251.969. It is about a 10-foot long metallic sphere propelling itself through space, being spotted by an aircraft from above, maneuvering with no wings, no rockets, no apparent sensors, no ports, no protruding cameras, and that is not anomalous according to NASA. Think about it. NASA thinks that objects just normally float around in our air, unannounced, not announcing themselves. I mean, if an airplane is filming this thing move, and this thing in the air is made of solid matter, not announcing its presence, with no apparent guidance system, how is that not a threat to aviation? Folks, this is a confession by NASA, although an inadvertent one. It's almost like a courtroom drama where I think the best analogy is if you've ever seen Jack Nicholson's amazing performance in A Few Good Men, where Tom Cruise has him on the witness stand and he's like, "Did you order the code red? Did you order the code red?" And he goes, "You're goddamn right I did. Now do it again." And then immediately the case is over. The bailiffs are escorting him out of there and arresting him. You're under arrest, you son of a bitch. So, I don't know what is motivating NASA to... That's perjury. Okay? Is NASA part of some former cover-up, and they're trying to get out of the cover-up, and they've been covering it up for so long that they think the regular presence of flying metallic orbs with no propulsion or guidance system and no sensor systems, unannounced, that is not anomalous. Does NASA have the technology to make metallic orbs move around at speed? This thing was not moving like a balloon. It wasn't floating. It was traveling across that screen. If you haven't seen this video and similar ones to it, please do. I want to make a couple more videos about some of these UAPs, especially metallic orbs. I want to talk about. I'm not a aerodynamics expert. I am not a pilot. I've never flown a plane. I have flown in planes. I will tell you from my experience flying in planes that the plane has a front and a back. Every object helicopters, even helicopters have a front and a back, because if there is a pilot or even a camera, we want to know where it's going more than where it's been. That's why human beings and animals have their eyes at the top and at the front and oriented towards their plane of movement, right? Secondarily, even a helicopter that's brought up by a propeller has to have some type of steering mechanism, and oftentimes you'll see with the more sophisticated helicopters, you'll see some type of jet-like exhaust, and it'll have a tail rotor that helps it rotate in space, and sometimes as it rises it'll orient itself so that the propeller is bringing it forward. But you understand that under no current understanding of aerodynamics or physics, is it normal? Is it not anomalous for metallic spheres, particularly those that are 10 feet long? Okay, we're talking about almost 6 to 10 feet long. And because it's a diameter, we assume that, it's a sphere. We assume that that space is filled with something. Something must be making it lift. And NASA doesn't think that it's unusual that spheres not just levitate but propel themselves actively forward and do directional changes. NASA, you either need to hire competent personnel, teach yourselves about aerodynamics, or show us the anti-gravity technology that you have in your possession that makes you think something like this is not an anomaly and not a threat to aviation. But I'm going to be generous. I'm going to be generous and chalk it up to incompetence rather than malevolence, because if it's malevolence, by the way, you have left a historical record that you, NASA, are actively trying to disambiguate this topic, and it's an important topic because, for example, these things are regularly seen near our nuclear facilities. And what do we do if a 10-foot wide metallic, apparently, sphere just loses its propulsion and just falls on top of a nuclear facility? How is that not a threat? We need to know what's going on. Folks, please like, subscribe, but most importantly, share this video with anybody that is into the UFO topic, anybody that is interested to getting to the bottom of this. We need to be aware that this press conference, even though it just had so much boring material, actually dropped a bombshell on us, something equivalent to a smoking gun or a confession. And I'm going to continue to drink my coffee. You all have a nice day.